All right. Hi, guys. My name is Kendra Cook. I'll be doing my final project on addressing challenges for children in foster care. Okay. So, most people know that there are many issues involved with the foster care system here in the United States. However, I think one area that a lot of people don't focus on specifically or don't stop to think about is how being in the foster care system affects a child's education specifically. Unstable homes due to foster care system can lead to severe school deficits. So I personally plan to be a school counselor, so this is a topic that was very near and dear to my heart as I want to help all kids succeed in school and especially these kids who are facing such intense challenges. Okay. So in education can determine your entire life path essentially. That first start that you get, especially obtaining a degree in general, can make a huge difference on everything you're going to be able to accomplish later in life. But imagine how well you could focus on an algebra problem when there's no security in your life. So, if you're in the foster care system, you could be facing all new people. You might not know the family you're going to go home to that night. You might think that you could switch schools in any minute, so there's not much point in getting comfortable at this school because pretty soon you're going to have to change it and there'll be all new curriculum anyway. So, students in the foster care system change public schools of an average of 3.46 times just during high school. As the number of school changes go up, the kids are less likely to get a diploma and they're more likely to get either a GED or just no credentials at all. Foster children are also twice as likely to repeat a grade or be enrolled in SPED classes. Graduation rates for kids in foster care have been found to be 54 to 77%, which is a really wide range, but it is roughly 10 to 20% lower than youth in the general population. There are also employment limitations as well. Researchers found that only 52% of people that come from foster care were employed by age 21. Sorry. And which is lower than the average of 67%. They're also more likely to experience homelessness, which we can see if you visit facilities such as Rare Breed, which we have in Springfield. I'm a very big fan of that system, but a large percentage of their youth, 18 to 21, who are homeless, were originally from the foster care system. Okay, so unfortunately, there isn't much a school counselor can do about changing the entire foster care system. There's not much that any individual can do. Whatever changes we make are going to be slow and take a lot of time. But there are more immediate solutions that we can implement for this. Um, One way that has proven successful is instilling resilience within these kids. So even if we can't stop them from changing schools or going through these really awful home lives, one person that teaches them these skills could help them succeed for the rest of their school career, possibly life. So, the resilience theory focuses on the positive aspects of an individual who is trying to overcome those negative behaviors or difficult life circumstances. It focuses on the skill set that the individual already has and then builds upon that, makes those stronger, and helps them rely on those to get through things. It also focuses on what support system the individual does have, whether that is parents or people at school or a religious leader or something like that. Any sort of support system that you can come up with. This is in comparison to traditional approaches, which focus more on the weakness of the individual or the thing that they're having difficulty with. Okay, so a Delphi survey was given to 34 teachers, 36 foster caregivers, and 36 social workers. This was to test both if here, if caregivers understood the concept of resilience and if they understood what this concept would look like for each individual or group. The study found that there was a moderate consensus to the importance of resilience in children, specifically in regards to survival, coping, and self worth. However, most believe resilience was very limited, and their idea of what the word resilience meant is very different from what you would find in a textbook for the definition. So they weren't quite clear on what it actually was. Um, so a lot more emphasis needs to be put on the importance of resilience with caregivers and people who work with kids in the foster system, I think. And we also need to talk about how to actually carry it out with kids. One way to do this is a workshop. I know specifically teachers have to go to a certain amount of continued learning or training workshops throughout the school year, and it would be very easy to make some of these about resilience or including this topic more, and then coming up with actual plans on how to implement it within the school. There also could be brochures briefly talking about the topic or trying to get people more interested left out in places frequently visited by those who would work with foster care children. All right. So we've already seen that school performance is a big factor to determine success after high school. Due to many factors, we see that kids in foster care tend to have an extreme amount of difficulty moving into the workforce and independence after school as well, after they finish going to high school. So Barno and colleagues collected data on 1,058 youth in foster care who were a part of transition programs for over 2 years. They collected data over 2 years for kids in these programs, sorry. And they found that during this, 35% of participants obtained employment, 23% obtained a GPA or a diploma, and 17% more enrolled in post secondary education. These are numbers set above what they already expected the kids to do, or kids that were not looking at getting these outlooks. So these might not sound like overwhelming numbers, 35% increase for employment, 23% increase, but they actually are uh, pretty impressive, and any improvement counts. And I think if these programs were in place longer and farther, then that would be even more successful. They did find the single most important factor about a kid's success is how long they're enrolled in the program. So again, making it an accepted thing that you want to be in this and you want to stay, instead of just being the kids included in the statistics who maybe went to 2 different sessions, ones who stay there for multiple years and get everything they get from these programs. And so I would love to see transition programs more widespread and more available throughout the country for whatever kids need them. And these transition services in this study, classic examples, are categories like job preparation, transportation, childcare, education support system, and life skills. So overall, just things that are focusing on the everyday life that some of us might have taken for granted that your parents would teach you that these kids are not receiving. And if you don't have options for some things like transportation, then how are you going to get a job and how are you going to take care of yourself? And we can't assume the kids just know this. All right, so overall, children and youth in foster care face added difficulties in school. And it's up to us as employees and caregivers to help them overcome these issues by teaching resilience, instilling that in them, and having transition programs that give them the practical tools. Um, we can help them overcome the unfair challenges that life has presented them with and help them live their best life possible. And here is my references. Um, so sorry of the technical difficulties.